Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The sun was setting over the dusty alleyways of the small town, casting long shadows on the crumbling facades. In a forgotten corner of a park, a young boy, his clothes threadbare and his shoes full of holes, delicately held a spoon to feed his little sister. She sat in a wheelchair, her face pale but lit by a smile despite the pain that shone in her eyes. A millionaire, James Whitman, stepped out of his black limousine, hurried and accustomed to opulence. But that day, something stopped him in his tracks. He watched the boy, every movement imbued with patience and love. Despite the poverty, despite the misery, the younger brother showed neither complaint nor anger, only a determination to feed his sister at all costs. James felt his heart clench. What he saw wasn't just suffering, it was resilience, selflessness, and a pure love that no bank account could buy. He got out of his car, without knowing why, and walked toward them. But before he could speak, the boy looked up, tired but brave, and whispered, "Don't worry about us, we have what we have." At that precise moment, something changed within James. Wealth, power, business, all of it suddenly seemed meaningless. He realized that true greatness lay in quiet courage and a generous heart, even in the face of hardship. And he knew he had to do something, even if that something would change his life forever. James Whitman stood motionless for a few seconds, his heart pounding, watching the boy and his sister. He felt he couldn't simply walk away. Hesitantly, he approached. "Hello. My name is James," he said in a hesitant voice, trying to sound natural, although every word betrayed his emotion. The boy looked up, wary, but not hostile. His fine features were marked by fatigue, but his eyes shone with astonishing intelligence and determination. "My name is Ethan, and she is my sister, Lily," he replied softly, in a voice that betrayed his maturity despite his 13 years. James crouched down to get down to their level. He noticed Lily's rudimentary wheelchair, her hands resting on the tray, and the breadcrumbs on her lips. "It's incredible what you do for her," James murmured sincerely. You take care of her all by yourself?" Ethan nodded. "Yes. Mom is dead, and Dad left us. I'm doing what I can for her." A silence fell. James felt a lump in his throat. In his life of luxury, he had never been confronted with such a reality. Here, in this small park, he saw a raw, disarming courage. Without thinking, James took out his wallet. But not for money, for something else. He rummaged through it and pulled out a small notebook. "I want to help you," he said. "Not just money, something more." Ethan looked at him suspiciously. "Nobody ever helped, just said that." James smiled, but his eyes were serious. "Then let me show you that some people do things differently." For the first time in a long time, Ethan felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps his life was finally going to change. But he didn't yet know to what extent. The next morning, James Whitman couldn't get the image of Ethan feeding his sister out of his mind. He had left his office at dawn and headed for the park, determined to return. Ethan was already there, sitting on the bench with Lily in the armchair. The young boy seemed tired, but he tried to smile for his sister. James approached slowly, without haste, and sat down next to them. "I've been thinking about what I can do for you and Lily," he said calmly. "And I believe I can help you both have a real chance in life." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "What do you want in return?" he asked suspiciously. "The rich always charge a price." James shook his head. "No. I just want to give you a chance to change your life. No debts, no traps." Then he took an envelope out of his pocket. Ethan hesitated before taking it. Inside, there was money, but also a ticket to a specialized center for disabled children and contacts for private lessons and adapted activities for Lily. You're doing this for us?" Ethan stammered, his eyes filled with tears. "Yes," James replied. "But I want you to know one thing." He looked Ethan straight in the eyes. It's not just about money. It's about hope. And hope, that changes everything. Lily reached out to James and murmured a soft, "Thank you," before smiling shyly. This simple gesture stirred a deep emotion in the millionaire. He realized that what he was offering went far beyond material wealth. It was the possibility of a better life. In the days that followed, James went to the park every morning. He taught Ethan how to handle certain responsibilities, gave him access to education and resources he never could have imagined. But what no one could have foreseen was that this encounter would change James's own life forever. Through Ethan's quiet courage and Lily's fragile joy, James discovered something no business transaction had ever been able to offer him, a deep meaning to his own life, and a sense of humanity he thought was lost. Weeks passed, and Ethan and Lily's lives began to change. Thanks to the resources provided by James, Lily received appropriate care and was able to undergo therapy that gradually improved her mobility. Ethan, meanwhile, discovered the joy of learning at a small private school he would never have been able to attend otherwise. But one afternoon, when James came to meet them at the park, he saw a group of local youths surrounding Ethan. Their faces were mocking, and their cruel laughter echoed in the air. "Hey, poor boy. You think you're better off now because a rich guy buys you toys and private lessons?" one of them called out. Ethan felt panic rising. He had always been brave, but he had never faced this kind of direct hostility. Lily, in her armchair, watched him with concern. James intervened immediately, stepping forward confidently. "Leave him alone." His firm, authoritative voice made the youths back away. But he knew it was only a temporary respite. This confrontation made James realize that money and opportunities were not enough to protect children from the wounds of the real world. He had to teach them inner strength, resilience, and above all, how to maintain hope in the face of adversity. In the following days, he spent long hours with Ethan, discussing not only books and mathematics, but also courage, perseverance, and dignity. True wealth, he told him, is not what you possess, but what you become in the face of life. Ethan listened intently, absorbing every word. And little by little, he felt his fear transform into determination. He understood that, despite the mockery and the obstacles, he could protect his sister and move forward. But James began to feel an unexpected transformation. Ethan's grateful gaze, Lily's fragile smile, all of this awakened emotions in him that he had never known: tenderness, responsibility, and above all, a deep desire to change not only their lives, but his own. And so, in the face of adversity and unforeseen challenges, an unbreakable bond was born between the millionaire and these two children, a bond that would withstand life's storms and reveal what it truly means to be human. A few months later, life finally seemed to be smiling on Ethan and Lily. Lily could hold her spoon by herself during meals, and Ethan was excelling in his studies. But the peace was short-lived. One evening, as James was coming to pick them up for an important dinner, an accident occurred. Lily, in her wheelchair, slightly tipped over on a poorly paved sidewalk. Ethan rushed to catch her, but she hit the ground. A scream ripped through the air, and James ran over, his heart pounding. Thankfully, Lily only had a few scratches, but the incident was a shock to everyone. James felt a fear he had never felt for himself, the vulnerability of these two children whom he now considered his family. This ordeal strengthened their bond even further. James decided to take them in temporarily to ensure their safety. Ethan, initially hesitant to accept his full support, came to understand that there was no shame in receiving love and support. But the real lesson came from Lily. Even after the accident, she smiled faintly and whispered, "It's going to be okay, we have James now." Those words, simple yet powerful, shook James to his very core. He realized he had never truly understood what it meant to protect someone, until that moment. In the following weeks, James invested not only in their safety and education, but also in simple moments of happiness, walks in the park, afternoons spent reading, and impromptu games in the garden. He discovered that by helping these children overcome pain and fear, he was also healing his own emotional wounds. Finally, one evening, as they were gathered around a fireplace, Ethan rested his head on James's shoulder and whispered, "Thank you, for everything." James, his eyes shining, simply replied, "No, thank you. You've shown me what life is really like." And in that brief moment, in that house where love and hope had replaced fear and loneliness, James understood that his encounter with Ethan and Lily had not only changed their destiny, it had completely transformed his own.